But
We go from back there.
I tried to figure out that steer.
So you don't have this problem, you have the brain area, you can slate it for fire.
Hopefully get some headway.
Yeah.
It must go into all that.
Oh, well, what was
It's hard to find people like that.
So what do you guys think? So I would
the?
So is it the first
Yeah, here, we do.
Oh.
Pressure.
So he's like, all right.
Develop projects, like that, so on, some in quarter two.
2 weeks.
Healthcare.
We have no reason about it, right? Thank you. We're doing a lot of work together.
So we all different.
Anyway, I think you're sitting here and I'd love to get that.
So.
Because of a those farm teams
Double.
And we'll try, I talked to it. So, well, and to be on the deck, but still.
The carry house was.
So
So that's not good.
That takes 5 bundles. That makes.
Well, that's bad housing. Consider.
I know. You talked.
So there's no needs more.
So 5 versus plus 55. You say.
And it's 60%.
So anyway,
Right.
I'm glad to get out that big.
Check that out my bucket.
There's no secret meters. Okay.
Overtrack.
So that's the big push. Next couple weeks there.
We had a minute to catch up. Everybody will turn the mic on. We'll get the show going. Are we on? Yes, great. Thank you, everyone, for coming. This is the Historic Resources Commission. Today is July 20th, and the time is 4:02. And if I could, I'd like to introduce staff. And swear you in.
Jacqueline Lee.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth of the testimony you're providing this evening?
I do.
Great. And if I could have the commissioners introduce themselves, please.
Mike Ford.
Clyde Henry.
Stewart Gibney.
Mega Sigma.
Great. Okay, well, that brings us into the next business meeting, which is August 3rd at noon in this particular location, room 204, which brings us then as well to the next hearing meeting, which is August 17th at 4 p.m. as well in the same meeting, same meeting room. I would like to ask if there was anything with public forum.
No public forum.
Okay, great. And if we could entertain an approval of the staff approvals.
I move to approve the set of approvals.
Second.
Any further discussion?
No.
Okay, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We'll also entertain a motion to put the minutes in the permanent record.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, I believe that brings us down to staff report.
Okay, so jumping in, so the first application has been moved to staff approval at the business meeting. So we're going to go ahead to number 2 for the continued applications, and that is for 24 East Northwood Avenue. So this application involves landscaping and exterior alterations, including modification of landscaping with new hardscape and removing of the retaining wall, as well as installation of venting through soffits and removing a portion of large rocks and installation of perennials. That work has been completed. There's also a proposal to install a new retaining wall, and that is proposed, so that work has not been completed. So the property received a code violation in August of 2022 regarding the change of the front yard area to hardscape, removal of retaining wall, and modification of the roof soffit with venting extruding from the soffit. So the application was continued at the January meeting, so the applicant time to come back with a revised proposal and drawing of proposed plantings. The applicant has added plantings and removed some of the rocks hardscape. At the July 6th business meeting, the commissioners noted that the application is moving in the right direction, but want to make sure there's enough plantings. The commissioners asked what would be put on top of the landscaping fabric. The commission asked if staff could include a before photo side by side with the current photo of the front lawn area to better show the difference. The commissioners noted the storage container should be removed, and the applicant has since confirmed that the storage container has been removed from the property. The commissioners noted that the new retaining walls are not typically approved as they want to avoid setting precedent. The commission did have additional questions about the proposed retaining wall based on the sketches. They did not see details or wanted to see details showing long-term viability, such as for water, or drainage, or weeps. And we're not sure what the foundation materials were that were being proposed. The commission noted that the proposed materials appeared to contrast from the brick retaining wall currently present on the property. And the applicant noted that on the side of the property, there was sort of that round rock, and that I believe is the cue that they were taking from. And then the commissioners asked that the proposed retaining wall be indicated on the site plan to show the location. So staff recommends increasing the amount of plantings and reducing the hardscape to more closely match the historic landscape of the home and the neighborhood to meet the guidelines and code, and to confirm that with an updated landscape plan. So one suggestion would be adding plantings of various heights, which may help to achieve that greenscape. The applicant notes that additional work has taken place for the venting and soffit area, so staff recommends the applicant submit current photos of the venting and soffit area to clarify the additional work that has taken place. And code enforcement has provided some updated photos from this week, so just recently added that to the application to give an idea of what the current context is. And so staff recommends continuing application HR 2301-0112 40 East Northwood Avenue to allow the applicant time to revise the application to meet city code and the Columbus Register of Historic Property architectural guidelines. And the basis for that staff recommendation is the city code 3116.13 standards for site improvements, specifically letter A, and the Columbus Register of Historic Properties for historical plants and landscaping on page 83. Thank you. Over to you.
Okay. Thoughts, concerns?
Well, I think everything we discussed in the business meeting still stands, so.
Yeah, before we go any further, is the applicant here for 24 East Northwood?
Did we expect them? Do you know?
I didn't have confirmation either way, I just want to make sure.
Could table it if you think we can, if there's a
We
possibility.
could come back to it if we don't have the applicant here, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, why don't we do that? We'll move on to the next application, just in case they come in.
Yeah,
Maybe give us some insight. Thank you.
okay. So the next application is also for the same applicant, so we'll jump ahead to number 4.
Anyone here from 43 Hamilton? Come on up.
Oh, just that.
Come on up to this table if you don't mind,
You want to sit
in the event that you want to speak and discuss the matters. For a little housekeeping, if I could have you both introduce yourselves and raise your right hand, I'll swear you in for your testimony.
I'm Brooke Romanhitis, homeowner.
Okay.
I'm Chris White, Remus Roofing.
Do you both swear or affirm to tell the truth of the testimony you're providing this evening?
Yes.
Okay, great. Are there little green lights on your mics? Are they kind of
Yeah.
lit up? Okay. Can you move those up a little bit closer to you? Okay, great.
Okay. So for this application, the proposed work is to replace existing asphalt shingles with IKO Dynasty Castle Gray shingles, which is a standard 3 tab, and to use gray metal ridge roll for the submitted materials. So the shingles are not from the approved list, which is why the applicant is bringing these before the commission. And the selected shingles are proposed due to the increased warranty as well as the lower cost. At the July 6th business meeting, the commissioners noted that they are open to reviewing an asphalt shingle that is not on the approved list as a possible test case, and clarified that the shingle would need to match the look of slate, and cautioned that the shingle just being cheaper would not be a sufficient reason to use the alternate shingle. The commissioners asked that the applicant bring a physical sample of the proposed shingle to the meeting, and if the applicant could also bring a proposed sample of a shingle from the approved shingles list that the applicant would otherwise choose to be able to better compare. So in response to commission feedback, the applicant notes that their primary reason for selecting the ultimate shingle is for increased durability and confirm that they will bring the shingle samples to the July meeting. So sandboard mapping from 1901 to 1961, as well as the Ohio Historic Inventory Form from the 70s, do confirm that the roofing material is historically slate. And that's just something that staff want to check, since currently the asphalt shingles that happen to be on the home are kind of a red shingle. So confirming that the roof was slate and wasn't a tile. So the proposed shingles should avoid having varying sizes, but rather have uniform sizes to match the appearance of slate. And then the approved shingles list itself that we have today was established based on the historic use of roofing materials in Columbus, specifically the types, colors, and shapes of slate. And so while no asphalt shingle exactly mimics that size, color, and texture of slate, those of the current list are the closest we have found so far or representatives to this point. So following the city code standards for alteration, repair or replacement of missing architectural features shall be based on accurate duplications of features substantiated by historic, physical, and pictorial evidence, rather than on conjectural designs or the availability of different architectural elements from other structures. So the question before us today is, do the proposed shingle selection match the appearance of slate similar to or better than the shingles on the approved list? And if found to match, staff recommends that the proposed shingle be approved as a test case. And if the shingle does not match the appearance of slate, staff recommends choosing the shingle from the approved shingles list per the standards of alteration. So the basis for the staff recommendation are the standards for alteration, specifically letters numbers 6, 11, and 12, as well as the HRC guidelines for roofing materials.
Okay, pardon me. Were the samples part of what you're considering using on the roofing material that you're discussing today, or the samples?
Yes.
Can you grab those and we'll,
Yeah, one quick thing, if you don't mind. You guys have put down that the shingle that we are proposing is a 3-tab, and it's actually not. It's a dimensional shingle. And I don't know how that ended up.
well, let's take a look. Go ahead and grab it. We'll figure it out. A dimensional shingle, as you know, has a whole different aesthetic.
Right.
Sure.
And we have a.
So this is the proposed shingle. This is a shingle color that's on the list that is actually the, which one is that?
It's
Owens Corning Estate Gray.
Okay.
I have another sample of the 3-tab, which is the same color as this, so they're very, very close in color. It's just that the 3-tab that's on the proposed list only has a 60-mile-per-hour wind rating, where this is 130-mile wind rating. We've had a lot of crazy storms, as you guys might know.
Understandable.
And so, being such a large project as it is, we just would hate to put something on that's gonna blow up. And be very, very costly. I know cost is not to be a factor. I completely understand that. The choices are fairly limited. The other one that we've liked as an alternative is the Tamco standard 3-tab that is on your list, the antique slate. And I had just confirmed again that that is no longer being manufactured.
Oh, it's good to know.
And I have the number of the regional district manager. If you want to confirm that, if you need it, I'd be more than happy to supply it. He's a great guy, answers his phone most of the time. He calls right back.
Okay. What I do appreciate is the fact that the Owens has more of a chamfered edge cutting, so it's really dimensional. This has a little straighter line, but again, the style of this dimension is typically not appropriate for this sort of a structure, frankly.
Yeah, The color isn't the difficulty, the color is the dimensional shingle. Dimensional shingles came out, what, late nineties maybe?
Mhm.
And so therefore, they're not a historical, they're more of a suburban shingle. And that's why they were never on the approved list. And I can't think of any that we've ever approved.
So there are two other dimensional shingles that are on the list, which are very, very close in color and style. The slate, GAF slate line and the Certainty carriage house, which almost have the same pattern.
Okay, do we have dimensional shingles on the list?
There are, I think, Chris, right?
Yes.
Like Chris is saying, I believe there are two.
Okay. And
They don't have
because of for slate?
yeah, so some dimensional shingles will have like the pitched,
Right, yeah.
type, and some of these do not. They do say dimensional though. So how they kind of spread it out, I'm not sure, but they do technically say dimensional on the list, yeah.
And the two that are on the list, why don't you want to use those?
Well, they have a very unique color of brick. It's almost like a gray yellow. And so those colors just look not very good together. And I am going to bring up the cost factor. The materials alone are close to $8,000 for this. It's a super huge house, 5,000 square feet, right? And those two dimensional ones I just priced out would run around 15,000 for the materials alone. So it's almost double in cost, which is huge. These guys that bought this house, it's been sitting for years and years. They're working really hard to make it look really nice, and they have a lot of other projects to do. This roof is costing over $40,000 to do as it is. That would increase it probably to close to 50,000. Excuse me. And to put something on it that just doesn't look right for that much more money, yes, I apologize, I have to bring in the cost factor, but it's huge.
It's valid, but at this point in the game, there's a way to consider that in the event that we don't come to an appropriate opportunity now.
Okay,
So there is that available. Just keep that in mind.
sure.
So if we have a dimensional shingle on the list, that's, so basically his main issue is it's a different color.
Well, I was gonna ask, could we
Is it
pull up,
shape-wise?
Yeah, we could
pull up the-
shingles list.
we'll pull up the two that we're discussing.
Sure.
How's that sound? And we'll kind of compare what you have and sort of look at it.
Would you mind bringing the sample up here so we can? pick it
Sure.
I thought my eyes were aged since they were bad.
up? Yeah.
And for the record, it's like picking paint colors of a room. Your eyes kind of go blurry, forget which one's which, so. We've done a lot of different colors, and he's right, their bricks are a funny color, and the red obviously doesn't work.
Makes it in a 3 tab.
So you like this color, you want that shingle.
Okay, you want that shingle in this color?
No, we're asking for this
this.
exact.
And you're showing this one because it has a similar color. So make that read.
Yes, a very close color.
Okay, okay.
You're confusing us then.
Okay, never mind. So this is what you're proposing.
So I actually have the other one in the backpack, but it's not on a board.
What do you mean?
They don't even have samples of the 3 tab anymore.
When you said the other one, what do you mean by that?
The estate gray that's in a 3 tab shingle,
Okay,
which is super.
but you're not gonna use an Ellen's product, you wanna use this IKO.
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
Was that?
Yeah, so there was not another,
So why didn't bring this, just to talk about color?
oh,
Shape it, I'm curious.
because, well, color, yeah,
Okay,
color, just to compare what's approved and how it's.
like close. Gotcha. Okay, let's put that one away. Thank you.
Sorry.
Would you mind bringing the 3 tab?
Huh?
Would you mind?
It's a test case.
Let's look at
Can we actually pull up maybe a photo of the dimension?
It's okay, that's okay.
What we got?
Do you want, Stuart, do you want a photo of the shingles on the list or?
The dimensional ones are on the list, if you have it anywhere on there.
We can kind of compare like the structure and see if there's somewhere.
Yeah.
Because if it's.
Yeah, but the color's kind
Yeah.
of great, I mean, gray's great.
Well, and if you look at the house, there's an older red photo. It's got a hint of red here and there, but I think.
Yes. Those red, unfortunately, tend to deteriorate faster than the grays.
Oh, you know,
5/3 of the things, and that's all the reds. Like this.
This is the,
Hold
this one is on.
Yeah, red, that makes it softer. I think it's like maybe for something more iron. Because it's actually stone.
So. Yeah, these would be actually.
Hmm. Sorry, I'm not making it easy for you.
That worked.
Make sure it gets.
Well, what
I mentioned it's so big. This is my life because these are pretty daggone straight. I don't think they're gonna read like this. It just goes to these actually. These are very, these are for natural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
No, yeah.
If we go to images.
Yeah, we think that there are hard precedent for having a dimensional children. It sounds like some of the products that are already in the street list that are start to fall off.
Yeah.
Maybe it was hard to have some test case research, check out some insurance if there's already precedent.
I would like to be able to revamp both of those, this, just because it's. Yeah. There you go. That's all very large. Just said they're not making it's gonna be. That's what this house is. Okay.
Let me,
Would you like the three tab version?
Yeah.
of,
The approved one on the list is the one scoring three tab, estate pie.
No, what we think we want to do is we want to compare the approved dimensional one that's on the list to the one that you're proposing. Because that's really the comparison that we need to make.
the color is probably secondary at this point.
Okay, so-
With the color figured out.
So this one, yeah, oh, I remember this one, yeah, we should do that one for,
And that's in the list as a dimension. So
yeah. Hold on. This is the first one.
carriage house.
Okay.
And we approved that one because of the,
Clipped corners.
yeah, when they were replacing.
Can we, do you mind going back to the list?
Yeah.
I wonder if this would read right. How about the true slate? Can we see a picture of it? Because it doesn't have that clipped corner. Maybe we'll get a little closer there.
So,
Agreed.
Discontinued. See that? Discontinued.
Oh, it is.
Might be from the manufacturer too. We've run into the past where we give them the call. And sometimes they have like reintroduced the shingles. I think it's been within the last year that we've checked. But not awesome.
yeah,
Sensing general support.
yeah.
Well, I think there is merit to it based on the style and like I said, I feel it's more in keeping with non-shake look with that style and dimension of each of these little tabs.
Yeah, it looks like slate, the colors, well, it doesn't look like slate, but I mean, it mimics it.
It would certainly read a little better like that than opposed to some other dimensional options.
Agreed.
And then do we have a really good color sample of what exactly, or is this exact?
That's the exact one.
Okay,
That's it.
so you're familiar with the rest of the details, the ridge rolls, ridge caps, the colors, all that? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, those ones are staying on
Yeah.
by the book.
Good. I think they're gonna do red. I think I saw, or
You're doing red.
Oh,
different?
no, but
Right.
the,
Engraving.
the not.
Okay.
I'm very sick of bread on top of
The bread.
grinds.
Okay.
Someone asked
See
it.
the sample?
Okay.
Suppose we could take a photo of that. Guess we could get it. Yeah.
Are you gonna photograph that and put it in the record somehow?
We do, the applicant provided the photographs.
Oh, good.
Some of them.
Okay, let's call the question. Uh,
Who wants to make a motion? Sure.
I move to approve, as a test case, the shingles as submitted for project HR 2307 or dash 026 43 North, Hamilton Park.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Are there any other stipulations we have to put in place now for test cases?
No, I think that if we notate it and we notate it why we're doing this and the color is really good, I think the dimension of that is more appropriate. Has nothing to do with the money at this point. I mean, this is just because of what you propose is pretty good.
And the availability of shingles in all of our lists, we do, or we plan to update someday. And the process is, as with the original list, items were passed as test cases, and then someone will go and look at it and decide, yeah, that worked out pretty good, and then, so that's how recommendations get made, or will get made in the future if we add to those lists.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know what the protocol is, but once the applicant installs it, it'd be great to get a photo or however, so we can see.
Good photos once you're up there, pulling it down and then back on the other side, but yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Did you have a second on it?
We did.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Be happy to send you lots of pictures.
Yeah,
Before an application.
It's a beautiful house. Lots of light out
Can I
there.
bring up one? I mentioned.
Oh, yeah, if it helps, I mean, I guess.
So they're currently, the home itself has a castle-like feature on the left side of the building, which they actually have a person that's looking into to creating plans to do the original cone.
Wow.
And so that would also be wrapped with the shingles.
Should have like a conical roof on it.
Yeah, is that's the way it was originally, I think.
Yeah.
So we have an original photo of the house back from
Oh, I think I saw it. Okay, great.
1912.
Okay, and that will have to be approved separately, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely, yes. that-
Yeah,
So-
obviously you wouldn't do the same shingles on there. Yes.
They have wonderful plans.
Oh, there it is, yeah, and then it's the last.
Oh, that look nice.
Yeah, great.
Okay, so within the next couple of days, usually we say like 3 to 5 business days, we'll get you the COA for the roofing and you're good to go.
Why don't you have an architect?
Thank you very much.
Oh, this is fast forward. Pick it up. Little mini version.
They're two-story.
I think almost had a shot. Yeah. Maybe a basket. Okay. Is there anyone here by chance from? Come on, computer. Uh, 24 East Northwood? Anybody? Is that where we started and?
Yes, that-
I keep an eye on, okay. Okay.
Kimball.
HR hyphen 23 hyphen 07 hyphen 027 792 Kimball Avenue. Anybody here for Kimball? Please come on. How are you today?
Good, how are you?
Great, thank you for coming in. For a little housekeeping, if I can have you both introduce yourselves and then raise your right hand, and I'll swear you in, for your testimony today.
So I'm Caitlin Savage, homeowner. Juliet Newberry, Able Roof applicant.
Great. Do you both swear or affirm to tell the truth of your testimony today?
Yes.
Lovely, thank you.
Okay, for 792 Campbell Place, the proposal is to replace slate roofing with asphalt shingles from the approved list, specifically Owens Corning's Supreme 3-tab shingle in estate gray, as well as to install 5 black cat vents. So at the July 6th business meeting, the commissioners asked for further clarification on the deterioration that is occurring to the slate and related deterioration, for example, as to the top layer of the substrate. The commissioners noted that some areas of deterioration can be seen in the photos, but it was not clear through the photos that replacement is required. The commission notes that they need to avoid setting precedent, so we need a compelling reason for why this property requires hat vents instead of venting on the roof ridge underneath the metal ridge wall. So for this application, the questions before the commission is whether sufficient documentation has been provided to determine if the slate roofing can no longer be repaired. And then the note that HBO staff does not support the installation of hat vents, rather we recommend ridge or edge vents in lieu of hat vents. So staff recommends approval of application HR 2307027 at 792 Kimball Place with the following stipulations, and that is that clear photos and documentation is provided to confirm that slate can no longer be repaired, that appropriate venting is completed instead of hat vents. And the staff recommendation is based on the standards for alteration, the city code 316.11, specifically numbers 2, 5, and 6, as well as the HRC guidelines for roofing materials, which note, as an example for caption, that the new asphalt roof with has a metal ridge roll vented along the ridge instead of using hat vents, and that the ridge vent material is really visible and appears in photo as a horizontal dark line or shadow beneath the ridge roll, as well as the amendments to the HRC guidelines, including slate roofs and for slate replacement.
I've got some documentation that I'd like to pass out, if that's okay. It's mostly the same pictures. I just thought it might be easier to see the damage if I circled it and pointed it out, as well as we can discuss the ventilation issues or concerns, I guess they should be.
Sure.
Okay. That I like labeled everything, so it should be in there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I see you circled all the red ones.
So
An interior investor.
I wanted to point those out to show past repairs have been made to the roof,
Oh, those are repairs.
since they're different colors of slate.
That's interesting.
They weren't original, because sometimes they'll do the mix with a little, have we read what, read
That was information provided to me by some of our production team in reviewing this information.
Oh.
They believed the different tiles showed different repairs over the years.
There's a quick camera.
Yeah, I didn't want to. See, red. What is this from? Yeah,
Did you verify that the material was available that you were seeking to replace
The,
shingle?
yes,
Okay.
yes, the shingle is available.
Yeah, one question. Do you guys have an estimate on, if these were to be replaced,
The slate,
slate, what percentage are we talking about in terms of the damaged tiles? Because I'm just looking at the historic guidelines, it clearly states whenever possible
yeah,
to maintain the existing materials, right?
absolutely.
So we have to make sure that that's not even remotely possible.
It's not even the cost, right? I mean, Robin, thing, is it even possible? Like, can you do the spot, remove the damage and just kind of put the original material?
My understanding is sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes even getting on a roof that's over 100 years old will just damage it more. The durable slate company does repairs.
but their opinion was that it was beyond its life and in need of replacement. And I would just defer to that company. I mean, they're accredited with the Better Business Bureau, and I don't think they have a interest in being, you know.
Understood.
Do we have the documentation to their opinion, so that we can say that the expert?
They submitted. it.
Yes, so
Right at the front of the packet.
Who sought out that information from the durable slate company?
I had them come out initially to look at the roof.
Yeah,
It is an expert opinion, right? And I would imagine they would provide clarity if they thought that repair work.
I think if it was repairable, they would have probably liked to do that.
Well, I'm sure they would like my money.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
looks like they
Yeah, they're not even all circle. That's a good point.
Yeah,
It's in
we're okay with it?
that shape.
yeah. It looks like 40%.
Yeah.
And then you go.
That's right.
Okay, I is what's going.
Right.
I hate losing the slate too.
Let's see, let's talk about the venting then.
There you go.
That seems
Kind of odd.
So with the amount of ridge vent on her roof, it wouldn't be adequate ventilation for her attic space. With the shingle that we would install, the 3-tab, Owens Corning recommends 37 linear feet of ridge ventilation. This house would only provide, what's my number, like 9, I think, at the most. So we just didn't have another option besides the hat vents and our professional capabilities, I guess.
That ridge up there's only 9 feet?
So the total ridge length is 14 feet, almost 15, but you don't put ridge vent, you kind of like tuck it in a foot from the edges. So it starts foot in on each side. So for the 3 ridges, 2 on the dormers and then 1 in the middle, that would only be about 9 feet of ventilation.
And there's no room for a power vent either. There's no gable end or anything.
Do you have those locations for these?
I do not, but I could definitely submit those.
We have to come up with a different solution, I think, for that. This is right on the corner, so you're visible really nicely on the side and on the front. Now, if you were tucked in an area and nobody saw your backyard, we could say, yeah, we could perhaps consider something with a visual obscurity, but how about can you do anything with putting vents through the soffit?
So the soffit would be intake,
You need
we still
exhaust.
need,
Yeah,
exhaust.
is the house in its current state not properly ventilated?
That I can't speak to.
She might
I
be
just-
also going towards the warranty of the shingle, so the manufacturer says, look, this is what we
The
were.
manufacturer says this, it could shorten the lifespan of the 3-tab if the attic isn't properly ventilated. I can't speak to ventilation when you have a slate roof on. We're not the pros in that.
So it is an unfinished space up there?
It's partially finished.
Is there ever a clause where you do it
On the hip?
yeah, you ever seen something like that?
I've never seen it.
Maybe on the back.
It wouldn't water. You have proper water. Okay.
Thing on the slope, yeah.
They're not designed for
Those
that.
should go to windows.
We discussed that too at Able, putting them on the hips.
Yeah.
It's a there's different specs. You can only start halfway up the hips. It's a different type of ventilation system with some sort of mesh is my understanding, and the reason why we shy away from it is potential for leaks and problems.
Do you have an example of the vent that you're proposing?
I don't, I apologize.
Can you,
There might be an image in materials.
in the packet?
Let's just check here.
How many units would you propose you would need to satisfy your requirements?
To satisfy the manufacturer's recommendations would be 9 hat vents. I believe the application needs updated. Originally, we thought it would only be 6. But we could alter it to do as much ridge vent as is here. And I think that would mean we'd only need 6 additional hat vents. But I would get the specifics on that as well.
So minimum of 6, maximum of 9.
So in the event that you were to put them,
Say, for example, toward the rear and the
adjoining property side,
That would be
would it
doable,
satisfy enough flow? Because you're talking exhaust now.
especially with, if we do ridge vents on the dormers. Yeah, it's not like we could put 9 hat vents on one facet of the roof and the attic be fine. It would have to be,
Two, at
Yeah.
least I would think, 3 and 3.
yeah.
Is there any other options, do you guys think?
Well,
Right.
I'm curious, this is a standard 4-square house. I mean, there has to be precedent, right? I'm sure this isn't the first hip roof 4-square house. I mean, I lived in one that was the exact footprint.
Pretty common.
Yeah, very common. Just for what it's worth, the house that I lived in was slate and unfinished up there, and it just breathed right through. There was no need for venting, right? Because it was breathing on its own. That's how it was designed. So like when you start to finish the interior, that's why I asked that question, that you have a different requirement then. It poses all sorts of other challenges, whether, I don't know if you're doing that work now or that's something that already exists, but the dew point becomes a big issue. That's challenging, converting these over. I don't know, Jacqueline, if there's any history that would provide other solutions that we've looked at in the past.
We can certainly look into it. Like you're saying, this is a pretty common, house type, the 4-square hipped roof. So not to my knowledge has been approved. We can certainly look into those other options that might satisfy the requirements.
Right.
I'm not aware of any on the top of my head.
I could offer a solution. I'm on a different agenda if you want. If you want to start making a sauce for you.
Yeah, come on. Sure.
Just as well, so we get excited. Last.
Brian Collins.
Do you swear affirm to tell the truth of your testimony this evening?
I do, great. And I don't know whether you'll accept it or not, but if you mechanically vent it on the side that you don't want to see,
Yeah,
if you were talking about gable vent, you can power vent it and accomplish it with one.
Perfect, very good.
So.
What is that?
So it gets you your hat vent, but as long as you communicate all the spaces. So like you might need to, you have to look at the flow. So it has to come off the soffit, has to make it to that point. So if it's cut up and you can't get there, then it won't work. But that's a way to do one vent where you can't see it. Because it seems like you're okay, but if you can't see it, maybe it's all right.
Right. Well, and it's less hole in the roof. I mean, there are a lot of good things.
Right.
Right. You do have to run line power.
And you wouldn't do any ridge vent up in that situation because it will background to the ridge vent.
Oh, yeah.
The front part of the house.
So you just do the one.
Thank you.
Good. So we suggested is you do one vent, one power vent.
Yeah, you'd have to size it accordingly, it'd be bigger than a half vent, like if you say a half vent's gonna be this big, it might be
Right.
like more like when you see them, they look like mushrooms, because it's a fan in there, so, but if you can't see it, I think that's addressing what you were saying with it not being on the street side.
And they're usually what, aluminum, so you could paint that.
They can be aluminum, like get it black.
There you go.
Like it'll come in glass, it'll come in with aluminum finish.
Okay, so then that has to be plugged in though?
All right.
So you have to.
So you could, if you have a problem with that, you could do solar. And it can run, but if it's solar, it has to face the sun. So if it's facing north, it won't work.
Great, so then how do I get electric up there?
Well, it's partially finished, right?
Yes, it could come
Now's
off,
the
you'd
time.
have to find something to come off.
You'd have to get an electrician.
Yeah.
Run a line.
Call the electrician, actually, it'd probably end up costing you less than all the multiple ridge vents and other stuff.
So
To his point, though, the architectural structure of the way that that's shaped, where this is put, is really important. So that, you know, if those walls are cut up and those sections of those roofs are not able to breathe together, then this wouldn't
if
work.
it's heavily insulated, it may not.
Yep, does, what was that?
If it's been incorrectly insulated, it won't work either.
Yep, so that does that just vent the unfinished part or the
It
finished
pulls
part as
air from
well?
everywhere.
From everywhere?
So it just has to have a path. If you imagine that something small is moving through that space, like a bird got in there, it could move around, the air will move around.
So you would eliminate the ridge roll or the ridge roll, but you would still have to use ridge cap. So you'd still put the piece back over it. It just wouldn't be the vented piece that we were discussing. So that probably.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is that we're not, there are other solutions that need to be explored and they're not fully explored. So on this aspect, we are not ready to approve. Right, is that?
Well, it depends on what the applicant wants to
Yeah.
do. Do you want more time to maybe consider that? Or I don't know what your timeline is. If you're against the wall and it's an emergency, then that's one thing. I don't know.
No, I'm open to considering that. I just am worried about the electricity aspect of it. It's hard to find people to work on stuff these days.
But sure you want that tape now.
Well, it doesn't sound like I have a choice.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like the head vents are going to be really. I'm not real comfortable with that yet.
Yeah.
Frankly.
Should.
So we can continue it, let you have some time, if it's okay. We'll
Yeah,
continue
would
to the
you-
next month.
Well, would you be able to look into what everybody else on the street does? Because the houses are all very similar. None of them have slate. I'm just curious how, they all often have a third story. I'm just curious how they all do it.
Yes, I think that would be something you should explore and put in the application. And, you know, again, you know, our job here is actually not to design, we're going above and beyond here in this discussion, but it's to know that if there are other options, then we'd like you to explore those and put those out there. We approve something when there's absolutely nothing else possible to do. And so I think we need to be at that point.
So if other houses on her street had vents already,
Well,
does that help
not
or hurt?
necessarily.
Okay, I thought that was like
No.
pointless, right? Like, it doesn't matter what other people
No.
have.
So
This
you
is
can
the,
study for your case study to see if anybody had a different idea, if they kind of were creative and still met the code. I mean, you could do that exploration.
okay,
Because if somebody else did it, they might have done it wrong.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean, like,
yeah.
Just to be clear, it's probably apparent, but just stated, we're trying to minimize the visual impact of all the vents on the historic roof, right? So they wouldn't have been there, they aren't there now, and we're trying to maintain that historic look. So anything in support of that, I would imagine will look favorably in terms of moving this forward.
And frankly, it's all about preserving your house. I mean, that's the whole point. It's, you know, the least invasive method. One hole instead of 6 or 9 different holes around the roof, different things like that, other things to consider. But yeah, so I'll entertain a motion to continue.
I move to continue.
1 second.
All in favor?
Uh,
Aye. So if you take some time, look at your options, please get a hold of staff and perhaps we can modify your application.
Thank you.
And it is possible that at the business meetings in first of the month, we could just move this out at that time if the solution seems to be in line with what we're talking about.
So you might not even have to come back.
Great, thank you.
About that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you so much.
It's hard.
Do you want to take these, maybe reuse the folder?
Sure, thank you.
I'm gonna hang on to the plan.
Yeah, that was very.
Thank you, John.
Okay. Anybody sneak in for 24 East Northwood? All right, 2135 Ayuka Avenue. Move to staff, sorry. 204 East Oakland Avenue. Anybody?
We expect.
So I didn't get a confirmation. They might not be here.
Sir, what is your address?
So I'm in contract currently with a house in Willows, and I've never been to one of these, so I was kind of just here to learn and also see what I need to do. So getting a lot of information so far.
Okay.
We do also stream too, just if you wanted to look back at your, it's on the City of Columbus YouTube channel.
Okay.
Sir, were you here for a particular address, property, or?
It's 1725, right?
Yes. Would you like us to skip ahead for you? Is that okay?
To just check, there's no one else, in the
Wait.
next few applications.
I'm second to last,
Okay,
to number 12.
You do that.
I'm good. All right, so 1725 Brighton, HR hyphen 23 hyphen 07 hyphen 032. Hello, how are you today?
I'm good, how are you?
Great. Please raise your right hand and introduce yourself.
Trevor Williams.
Do you swear affirm or affirm to tell the truth of your testimony this evening?
I do.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay, for 1725 Brighton Road, this application is proposing a variance recommendation request. And that would be for section 3332.27 for the rear yard. Then there's a proposal for new addition, so constructing a single-story wood frame addition at the rear or south elevation of the existing home for the submitted materials. So the applicant notes that they have revised their application and that they will use windows from the approved windows list, such as the GEL1 sightline. The applicant will need to update the drawings as the proposed windows currently noted on the drawings are the GEL1 V2500 vinyl, which are not on the approved windows list. So for hardier vinyl siding, just for more clarification, the texture should be smooth, avoiding a full wood grain texture, and that may be what the applicant is proposing, but the staff just want to make that clarification point. And then staff recommends the water table be masonry to better match the masonry water table of the main house. So at the July business meeting, the commissioners noted that although the variance had already been mistakenly approved without an HRC recommendation, the commission will need to provide a recommendation. And the commissioners noted that for a proposal of this scale, being a new addition, the application will need to be discussed at the regular hearing. So staff recommends an affirmative recommendation of the proposed variance and approval of application HR 2307027 at 792 Kimball Place with the following stipulations. That the drawings be updated with windows from improved windows list, that the siding is smooth in texture, and that the water table be masonry material. And the basis for the staff recommendation is the HRC guidelines, including for new construction, design considerations, foundation, and by the siding, as well as the amendments to the HRC guidelines for required specifications for approval of artificial siding, and the City Code 3116.12 standards for new construction, just for general. And the City Code 3116.11 standards for alteration, specifically numbers 3, 10, 11, and 12.
Okay. What would you like to add, sir?
So in brief, I mean, this was a little bit confusing because we've already went through a process of getting a zoning variance approved. This happened a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago.
Okay.
And so I was in this very meeting. I thought I was, and then when I went to the commission meeting a couple weeks ago, they brought up that I was here for a zoning variance, and I was really confused, like, well, what are you talking about? And evidently the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing, but we have an official approval of a variance already.
Good. Did you bring us a copy just for the file?
I didn't bring a copy because it's already been submitted. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's not gonna be a problem.
We'll figure that out. I just didn't know if you had it handy.
I probably do have it in my folder here, but
Okay,
the
keep going.
yeah, I didn't know that was something that you were even asking for. I do. So we submitted for building permit. It's on hold until we got a letter from the HRC about what I was to understand. And I'm not an architect, but I've been working with my architect. I am the person on record dealing with this this whole project. I'm a contractor. So but from what my understanding is really the only thing that you guys were concern with mostly was the windows and I guess the siding too, but we were matching the siding, the existing siding, and then the windows, we were using a window from the actual approved list. So, and we have maybe 3 windows, that were even, that are in question. It's just the 1-story addition there, in that rear corner.
So the staff noted that the window that's listed on the application is not.
So it appeared, and I didn't know that until you brought that up, but it appears that the architect made a correction with a letter, but didn't change it.
So you're okay with that?
Yeah, so I can make sure that happens.
And you're okay, doing the foundation in the masonry as recommended?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
To the water table.
Our water table, yeah. So I think we're ready to go. And if we approve it as submitted, that would also give him the recommendation for the variance and even though he's already got it, he'll just check that box off. And that way you won't run into problems later on that somebody will say, well, you never got that, because you'll have it.
They mentioned in the last meeting, they said it would be done.
If I could clarify though, the as submitted, is it with the right windows from the approved list?
Yeah,
Or is that
stipulations that the.
Yeah,
staff.
has it been, is the application been updated with the windows and
So
everything?
we just need the drawings to be updated. So like the gentleman mentions, there's a letter stating that they'll be using a window for the group windows list and they specify which window, just the drawings will need to match that statement.
Okay,
And
We
then
could just move the staff.
if the applicant is okay, with that siding texture being smooth and then the water table being masonry, that should also be reflected in the drawings.
would it be better that we just move this to staff approval, or should we make a motion?
So I think here, I mean, since they're already at the hearing, we could you know, approve it with the client's materials be submitted to staff.
Okay,
That's ready.
good.
Do you want me to?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
For case HR 2307-032, 1725 Bridget Road, make motion to approve the case, and provide the recommendation with the stipulations that the staff has mentioned be reflected in, a fresh kind of set of drawings and application documents to the staff to.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? If you get a list of the details, I'm sure we can put that in for you, but you know, for
It's
the.
probably like in writing, I remember right now. But,
Okay.
about 48 hours from now.
I know how it goes.
Right.
Okay, but you're okay with all that?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Good.
How soon do I get the actual letters and would the?
So you can, provide, you know, the updated drawings, you know, anytime. But if we don't get them before we send a letter out, and typically we'll send a letter within 3 to 5 business days. The letter will just confirm that this was approved, but final materials will need to be submitted for the certificate of appropriateness. And then as soon as we get the, final materials, we'll be able to issue that certificate of appropriateness and that'll be sent by email.
So it's conditional. So you get us drawings and
So you need materials even when we're using something from your actual list?
It needs to be reflected on the drawings. So right now, the drawings say a different window, for example, and a different material for the water table. And so we just need the drawings to reflect what's being approved.
Yeah, you don't need the actual material.
Okay, that's what I
It's
was,
the application material.
Yeah, so you just ask your architect for a revision.
just the drawings.
yeah, so it says Genwell Builders Final. Yeah, you need to put what you got actually put in there. Okay, all in favor?
Uh,
Okay, you'll get a letter asking for those details. Once you get your drawings in, you'll get the final certificate. Good luck.
It'll actually be good.
Thank you very much.
mhm.
Beautiful home. All right. We just had a couple of guests come in. What address are you here for? I'm sorry.
120 South Central, last time.
Do you know what item number you are?
That's the next one.
You went correct, which.
I know. So there's gonna be a
Skip ahead quite a bit.
pop quiz here in a little bit.
I think we're jumping around there.
So number 11.
Yeah, I probably should write these down.
Should we ask if anyone else is here earlier in the agenda?
Year 12?
Yeah.
Year Brighton Road. He's watching, he's observing today. You all three together? Okay. And are you here just to observe some more or? Or do you have another application? Yeah.
Everybody's smart.
Okay, yeah, and then that's perfectly fine. And if you're okay with
Yes.
hanging tight, then we'll go ahead and we'll advance to number 11. 120 South Central Avenue. If you could come on up, if you plan on speaking, I'll swear you in and ask your names. Application HR-23-07-033. How are you tonight?
I'm great. How are you?
Good.
It's cooler in here than outside.
It was a little warm on the cover. Please have a seat.
Also my house. AC's perfect.
Want to get your names, please?
Sure. Good evening. I'm Diana Wellman. I'm a preservation consultant for the project.
Okay.
And Jonathan McKay, Vice President of Development with Wood Cooper Development Inc.
Great. If you'll please both raise your right hands, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth of your testimony this evening?
Yes.
Great, thank you very much. Okay,
Okay. So for 120 South Central Avenue, the proposal is for demolition of a 1955 single-story addition, as well as exterior alterations, and that would include installation of a new door surround with a 3-panel cement board, blond brick, limestone, and aluminum storefront, installation of a concrete ramp and retaining wall at the east elevation, replacing the existing multi-light vinyl windows with the Quaker H650 series window from the approved windows list to match, replacement of all doors with new aluminum doors, replacement of the roofing, including the asphalt shingles and flat roofing with APDN roofing in white, replacing the gutters and downspouts to match existing with the finish to match the trim color, repointing and masonry cleaning, limited masonry replacement and patching, the installation of light fixtures and security cameras via mortar joints, and repainted with cornice. So at the July business meeting, the commissioners noted that a complete application has been submitted, and due to the scale of the proposal, will need to be reviewed at the full hearing meeting. So in response to previous commission feedback from when the application was withdrawn, the applicant has submitted updated materials, including product spec information and an example image of the proposed aluminum doors, and noted that the new windows will be multi-light. So the questions before the commission today is, are the proposed aluminum doors appropriate? The ADA ramps that are proposed for the east and south elevations, are the proposed designs or treatments appropriate? And does the commission consider the 1950s addition to be contributing? Is demolition of that 1950s portion of the building appropriate? So staff notes that SHPO has conditioned approval on submission of revised design for the south entrance at the 1908 section of the building. So I'd like to note that any design revisions will also require review by the Historic Resources Commission. And also any new construction will also require review by the HRC. So staff recommends approval of application HR 23-07-033, 120 South Central Avenue with the following stipulations: that the applicant consider using wood or smooth fiberglass doors or match the historic door design to more closely reflect the original door design that is documented, and that any revised design of the south entrance of the 1908 section be submitted for commission review prior to any work. The basis for the staff recommendation is the City Code 316.11 standards for alteration, specifically numbers 1, 3, 4, 6, 10, and 12, and the HRC guidelines regarding doors, as well as the amendments to the guidelines regarding door replacement.
okay. Where would you like to begin?
So in regards to the condition from SHPO on the National Park Service, that was submitted to the National Park Service as an amendment. And the drawings that you see are what has been approved by the National Park Service. You should have received a side-by-side of historic images and the drawings to show that the doors do match the configuration of all historic doors on the building.
Do we have this?
And it's 183 pages.
It might be at the end.
About pages.
That's not even loading.
Yeah.
Oh, there it goes.
Yeah, that's it.
Did catch it.
Nice work. Yeah, mine's taking a little time too.
Okay, that's a,
So all the doors and windows are out in the building now are non-historic.
right. So, okay, so originally, can't see, but there was a,
So the panel that you see that's pointed, that will remain, that's the historic panel, that's remaining. So the only thing that is changing below the transom and the panel is the double red doors to a panel door to match what you're seeing in that historic image.
So all it is sliding.
Correct.
Black.
Correct. There's a storm window we're gonna get rid of, but the original transom will remain.
Okay, perfect. It's just the detail isn't drawn there, but it's intended to
It
be.
is intent to stay, yes.
Well, I think it's more keeping for sure,
Yeah, that was a concern marked eliminating.
Yes.
that they're not altering
Yeah.
that transom top.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Ooh. The 120 on there, does it have to be that big?
The 120 of the address,
The address, yeah.
I'm sure it can be adjusted.
I mean,
Right now, there is signage on the building that's pin mounted. This is Starling Middle School.
Up above. You can't see. No?
Yeah, so any proposed signage would need to come back.
Okay.
It's a separate item.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Not tall.
that's just pretty crap, something. Yeah, but they'll come back as a separate issue that's on this thing. So anyway, I think it's a pretty complete package. I think it's all kind of there. Probably the most controversial part's demolition.
Right.
Shippers already approved the demolition on that. And the reason for the demolition is because he feels on a contributing.
Yeah, it was not, when we did the National Register nomination, it was outside the period of significance because it was it was outside the boundary. They did not feel that it was a significant contribution.
Yeah, I think I remember this one.
And there's conditional issues as well. I'm assuming
Yeah.
Mhm.
leaks and all that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
I feel.
The staff's recommendation, around, reconsidering whether we're totally okay with that. And looking to you guys as experts.
Well, I think that metal has not been precluded. I think there were some cues on what was here. What is the header constructed of? Is it?
It's wood. Yeah, all the surrounds are wood.
And the window above is proposed to be refitted with
It's,
a new?
it's gonna stay, we're just gonna fix it up.
And
Yeah.
what's the framing consist of for that?
It's wood.
It's also wood.
Yeah, so the transom is wood and then the panel and the surround is wood.
Have you checked into having one of these made out of wood just for the sake of?
I can honestly say
See.
no, we have not.
Thoughts?
I mean, wood would be nice, but it's also, I mean, those aren't original doors. It'd be different if there was original wood doors on there.
Right.
Uh,
And I'm making an assumption that because the transom is wood, the doors that were there were probably wood, and because they were wood, they rot.
well, they look like that because there's a minor, you can see a little bit of a minor corner in the historical photograph. If the doors were there, they need to replace them after the doors haven't been there for years and years and years. So it's being replaced with a temporary door, but it's matching the, so I'm okay with it.
I'm leaning more that way. I think that it's,
It'd be really hard for me to name with the door.
well, fortunately, we have a good photo, so we're kind of obviously being very respectful to what was there, so I appreciate that for certain.
And all the doors are being replicated on all, there's 5 historic doors.
elevations.
All of them are being brought back to their historic appearance.
Okay, same company.
Yes.
Thoughts?
Yeah,
Let's go.
well, I'm interested in the comment that Clyde made about what's existing now, right? So we do have some evidence of what the doors were historically. And we have those photos. And as you mentioned, really thorough package, so appreciate that. The question I have though is that those doors are no longer existing. So as a commission, the recommendations we make should be following the guidelines, right? That those doors don't exist. So that's my question is how far back do we go to replicate?
Well, in previous cases, when there's a submission and things have been changed significantly, and it's in favor of bringing it back to that structure, that's a very helpful tool.
doesn't necessarily mean we bind the material that it was made of to that. It's aesthetically, it's what we're kind of getting back to.
Right.
And perhaps the metal will be more durable than what existed. I'm just guessing it was wood because the other pieces are wood.
It would have been
More than
wood,
likely it was wood.
based on the age of the building.
Yeah,
With siding, we no longer require wood siding.
right.
Because some of the, modern materials just work so much better and get the same look. So I guess I'm looking at it sort of the same way as we do some of our other materials. Say, well, it was really hard to maintain and it's gonna be.
This is a
Yeah.
commercial application, so these are gonna get.
They're gonna get
a
beat
bit of
up.
abuse.
Right. And the fact we're maintaining all that area up above, and the new doors are of an appropriate scale.
It is interesting though, from the drawing, now this could be wrong, but it looks like you're framing it in slightly. In the opening, or is that not reading how it looks?
I mean, I would say that there probably has to be some additional framing added to adjust, to adhere the doors to the opening, to the surround.
So I was looking at the margin of material around each door frame, and we had a case similarly in Old Beach Wall, and it was important to pay character reference and homage to that. If there was a way to beef up those edges on the door itself to make it look less spindly,
Sure.
so to speak, I think that
Sure.
might be a little more appropriate. Short of that.
To mimic the proportions of the original door.
Right, because that's a big opening. I mean, we're looking at it here, but when you look at it head on, those are gonna be big doors. So I would prefer if we could to beef that up a little bit.
Okay.
I think it's on.
And these are two out swinging doors?
Correct.
Okay.
Great project. Any thoughts on the building? Are you okay with the demolition based on?
It may have been in swinging originally.
They probably were, because it's prior to Collinwood.
I just asked, because it looks like there's flying with
Oh,
the dashes and everything there, but
Oh,
I just wanted to clarify that.
I was looking at a picture where there's not a. There was another photo below, I think, that had is that another set of doors where they were open?
In the historic image?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so. I believe that's right.
It was up there a minute ago.
It's the other direction.
Yeah, we can go. It's only 2 or 3 frames. There it is. Yeah, here you can see they're out. See it?
Oh, okay. There you go.
There we go. Just in a nick of time. Okay, somebody wanna
Okay, yeah.
put a,
For HR 23-07, 033-120 South Central Avenue, move to approve the application as submitted.
A second.
Do we want the condition of the doors?
Oh, do I have the condition
So
beefing up the
the
door?
wider framing.
What about mine?
You don't want to talk about that?
sure, you're not okay with it?
Well, I guess just for the applicant's sake, maybe some more specificity would be helpful from us about, are we trying to match more closely the existing detail? What I saw in the image. So it does look like right there's a little bit of a framing
Sure, the
existing,
brick mold, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that's what I was seeing in the
Yeah.
drawing, similar.
Yeah, the width beyond that, that's much wider.
It's usually uncommon for us to consider shortening, and
Sure.
that's kind of too.
Oh, I see what, okay, so we want to make sure that the opening, so the stipulation is the opening attaches.
Thin the trim around, right, and then make the trim heavier on the frame of the door as well. So in other words, it's twofold.
Sure,
So
so like
give
the
it that-
dimensional shop.
Exactly, you got it. You know what we're talking about.
So approve, motion to approve with stipulation that we're matching the existing condition in terms of the framing and the width of the stiles around the door. Any other stipulations?
It's all 5.
Yeah.
There's 5 doors, I believe,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
For all 5 doors.
openings, I should say. Yeah, probably 10 doors, but yeah.
And what signage is shown on this, we are not approving any signage at this point. you know that the swing is shown like it's one swing, but it is a double.
So signage, lighting, landscape.
All that data.
Okay. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for your consideration. I appreciate it.
Let's see.
Yeah.
We can go back to 12, 1651 Brighton Road. You ready?
Yeah.
Come on up.
I'm gonna grab some water and
Okay.
I'll be right back in just a second.
Thank you.
I heard someone mention a little bit ago, I think it was you, no longer needing wood siding. Is that a thing?
There are some other materials that we have approved. Hardy board, if we're doing a garage, we have at times accepted vinyl, provided that it's smooth, not wood. She can fill you in.
If there's existing wood siding, if it's historic, we want to retain that. If there's not, then there's some other options.
Okay, if you would please introduce yourself again, we're sworn in, so I think we're still on the record of you being sworn in.
Brian Collins, I'm the architect and contractor for the project.
Great.
Okay, for 1651 Brighton Road, the proposal is to extend the rear or south elevation door out 4 feet 6 inches from the existing location, with the new exterior walls to be clad with salvaged brick to match the adjacent portion of the first floor, and to install a new concrete stoop in place of the wood steps and decking similar to the front porch stoop. For the rear second-story porch, to replace the paneling with siding to match the gable, replacing the existing vinyl windows with aluminum clad from the approved windows list, realigning the windows with 2-window configuration from 3, with new window trim to match the gable window trim, to replace the attic windows with egress aluminum clad windows from the approved windows list, and to construct a new dormer at the west side of the roof to mimic the existing east elevation dormer. And the new dormer would have aluminum clad windows from the approved windows list as well. So staff recommends in general that the new brick wall be differentiated from the historic portion of the brick wall, such as material, pattern, or other differentiation. Based on the neighboring homes with similar rear porches and the current second-story windows of 1651 being vinyl, the existing second-story porch window sizes appear to have been modified, so staff is supportive of the proposed modifications. At the July business meeting, the commissioners noted that moving the back door and the changes in window sizes will remain a point of discussion at the hearing. And the commission noted that the design of the rear door does look closer to the existing condition, and appreciate the added details from the last application. So in response to the commission's feedback from May conceptual review, the applicant has submitted revised drawings. The extension has been modified to show the proposed brick wall on the east side of the porch, utilizing the salvaged brick from the wall on the west side. And so staff recommends approval of application HR 2307-034 at 1651 Brighton Road, with following stipulations that the proposed new brick wall be differentiated from the historic brick wall in some shape or form. And those recommendations are based on the HRC guidelines for porches and stoops, new construction, design considerations, as well as City Code 3116.11 standards for alteration, specifically numbers 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, and 12.
Okay. What would you like to add?
I think she's pretty thorough. I guess I'm open to how you would like us to differentiate. We added the brick in because the initial submittal didn't have brick, and there was question about removing brick. I know that in the last meeting, the business meeting, was kind of brought up that this is actually more of a very small addition to the back of the house as opposed to a modification of it, because we're adding space in. So like we will have to add foundation. We'll have to add, that square footage. It's only 16 square feet or so, but it's still, I guess, an addition coming underneath that old porch roof.
Gotcha.
So the owner is very flexible on, like, if you want him to do something different, he's fine. needs the square footage for the interior of the floor plan. So the idea, if we're okay with bumping it out, we'll make it look like whatever you want.
There's wood siding in other locations on the building, on the upper floors and stuff, so.
Right, so our first submittal was,
We had that.
it was very, very conceptual, and we had kind of photoshopped a wood siding thing, so we could do it out of wood siding. We could potentially do just a pier. I need a column at the corner, because the old column's gone, if you look at our pictures. The current column isn't actually structurally attached, it's just wedged in there. It's sitting on the deck. You can see it in that picture there, how it's weathered. It's never been painted. So we could do a brick column there. I need a column there. I don't need any other structure.
So can't you just hide a 6x6, or how big are you gonna go? How much are you gonna carry the load of that corner?
Yeah, like a 4x4 will do it.
Okay.
So the brick would be veneer. Like we're not gonna do it as a masonry,
I don't think you need that either.
Yeah, could you just close it all?
Yeah, you can hide that.
Siding.
Yeah, I could do it with wood siding and make the column. I don't have any other wood columns on the building. So the columns in the front, there should be a front elevation, are, they're not square and they're not small.
But it's not gonna be a freestanding column.
It doesn't have to be a freestanding. It can be a freestanding column because my addition does not go out to the end.
Oh, okay.
So I can do it however you want.
Did you want that as an architectural element though? Is that what the plan was, or you just stopped and you were like?
When we came for the first conceptual, it was brought up that there was a concern about removing brick. So we was like, well, we have brick, we could put it back in.
Yeah.
So we don't have to do that. It's obviously going to be harder to salvage brick to reuse it than it is to use a different material. So we would be totally fine doing a wood column there and doing wood siding on the two walls that are created. So the wall with the door is pretty much just the door.
That's it.
It's just the door. Yeah. So there is a returning wall that will be approximately 4 feet that comes into, like, it doesn't come into the corner, it's inside of the corner. So it would tuck in underneath the existing porch.
Yeah.
Put the first page of 18 up there of the floor plan.
Yeah, you're tucked back in. I think it's.
Like, so I can do it however you want. The critical part is that in order to get the island, the door has to bump out to be able to get around. If I don't bump out, I can't open that up the way that it's going.
When I'm looking at the floor plan there.
So I in a sense have a wood wall where the door is because there's only trim. So we already have wood trim there. The brick was just gonna wrap around the sidewall and then come out to the edge and create basically an alcove.
But really, this is what we have at Web.
Correct.
So
It doesn't have to be brick. I'm perfectly fine doing whatever you got.
So where's the freestanding column that you said?
So the freestanding column would exist at the outside edge of that brick. So I can't lose that corner.
Well,
I have to have a column there. I don't have to have a wall in there.
But can't the column be inside the wall? With the.
Or it can just be a freestanding column.
I'd put it in the wall.
But if it's a freestanding.
So it is, right now, it's inside the wall that gets wrapped with brick. I don't have a column because I have a wall.
Simplified discussion, just leave it as a wall.
Yeah.
Just make it as a wall.
And make it siding?
Exactly.
Make it siding with brick.
Where do you want brick? No brick?
No brick. No brick.
Okay, I'm fine.
Brick.
Well, then we have a differentiation between new and old, right? We're
Perfectly fine.
about trying to put other things that make it look old.
So we would be using the siding that matches the siding that's on the gable?
Yeah.
So, because we're already using it on the upper story above it.
Exactly.
And it gets you everything you need.
Correct.
That depth and that.
Yeah, like we have he's particular, he's open to whatever you guys want it to look like.
Sure.
He just needs the square footage of that bump out.
Gotcha. And it'll be less expensive for him anyway.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about salvage either.
Right.
So
I think we're there.
What about these egress windows on the second floor? They're gonna replace something that exists. I think I read that somewhere.
So they're on the gable ends of the third floor. So if you look at the front, it's not even a window anymore. It's like a cabinet door.
Yeah.
So
Are you altering the openings?
no, but I need to make egress. I need to meet egress.
I got you.
So because it's a bedroom, and when I switch the window, the building code will make it have to be egress.
Okay.
I may or may not be able to do it out of a double hung. It may have to be a casement.
Right.
We can mimic the mullion configuration and in the window, but I haven't gotten that far into the design. But it's no change to the existing opening sizes, so the opening sizes are gonna dictate what I can and can't do.
Okay.
I can definitely do it in a casement. Like, I'm not positive I've got the height, I think. I think I have the width and I don't know that I have the height in the double hung.
Yep.
So that's why it was noted as, it has to be egress.
Okay. And the matching gable, we've done that, we've approved those many times, so. Not issues, start over. So I think we're ready. You want me to make a motion? Sure. Great, thank you. Okay, I move to approve, HR -23-07 -034. 1651, Bryden Road with the stipulation that in lieu of the brick on the first floor, that it will be matching, or siding that matches, other locations on the,
Historic gable.
yeah, on the gable.
Second.
Further discussion?
No, just that drawings will be.
Yeah, I'll update the drawings to
A
that.
little bit.
It'd take a day.
Thank you.
Okay.
All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a nice,
Yeah,
thorough
it's
package.
growing. Excuse me.
Thorough package, thank you.
Thank you. You guys have a great one.
Thanks, you too. Thanks for that help too. Okay. Well, we're moving right along here, guys. Yeah.
Did we do 13 now?
Okay, what do we have left that you've taken them all out of order? And
Well, we did 13,
It's not gonna deal with it.
For years.
but if we did 13, we just finished.
I think you can know, so we're good.
Oh, good.
Thank goodness.
We have an adult in the room.
Well, since our number 3 applicant was on the fence either way, do you recommend we would continue perhaps, or?
Yeah, so in our staff report, we do recommend continuing just because there are some final details that we would want to see, such as the site plan showing the additional plantings and things, such as how that will be addressed. And since the applicant's not here, I would recommend continuing just to give them that opportunity so they can come to the hearing and have the discussion.
Makes sense.
Could you also clarify the existing brick retaining wall, is that in a condition that it cannot be preserved? And so they're proposing to rebuild that stone?
It's not clear, because the material that they're using would match a portion of the retaining wall that's actually on the side. It's more of like, I don't know, like a smooth stone that's existing there now. So a little unclear if that's the area that they want to rebuild or
That
where
parking
exactly.
area, right?
Yeah, or where exactly they would like to put the proposed retaining wall. So that's another point, we'd like to have the applicant come in and submit a
Right.
plan just to clarify.
Right, the site plan is lacking at this point, right, for your point.
Yeah.
Both retaining wall extents and plantings.
Yeah, I think like there are 2 sides to the stair. One is on the one is brick and the other one, I think is the
Right.
one which we are unclear.
Yeah.
I think it goes on really quick, if I remember right.
It's all there, right?
Kind of. Or,
Oh, there goes the stone.
is that what you were
Yeah.
thinking about?
Well, then, so that's what I'm wondering, what are the extents that they're proposing? Just change
Well,
everything?
I mean, that's what we asked for a site plan, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is an older photo and I think it's not in that good a condition right now.
Right.
Frankly.
And it didn't
Well-
look like they provided much more, I think in the business meeting, we had said the detailing of that wall was,
Yeah, so that's
Still at
what
a
we're
conceptual level.
looking for, and why the recommendation at this time is to continue, so we can get that requested information.
I move to continue.
Second,
All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, perhaps since we've been
number 3 is the same.
hopping around, we'll continue 3 as well.
Okay.
Sorry, 4, it's 3.
3.
So it was 2 and 3?
Wait, so do we have?
Yes.
Separate motion.
We
Yeah,
threw in
two
for
and
the
three.
same applicant, the same kind of
Have a motion for me
proposal.
for number 3?
Yeah, I make a motion to continue application 3 HR 23-01-014.
second.
Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Okay, so I think we're jumping to number 7.
Oakland.
And this one was the door and transom replacement, so I recommend continuing, so that, again, can have a chance to discuss further. As presented, we would recommend approval of the front door transom.
You would recommend it?
Would not, there's a historic door that we believe was removed, and right now, and also as well as the transom, right now, if, from the spec, there's a single kind of combined transom and door, and I think the door is a faux wood grain. So a combination of things that we'd recommend a different approach.
Okay, so we should continue this.
For HR 2307-029, move to continue the application.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then number 8, their applicant has submitted some additional information, so the commission wants to take a look and see if we're, comfortable approving, or if not, we can always continue. This one might, potentially be okay. And then I'll look at this after.
Great. This is the one where he wants to remove this, but then put the upper balcony back on in the post, and he indicates that the infill under the porch or under the was not original, and I.
Correct. Yeah, and the applicant did provide some additional photos that shows kind of how that wrap has been done. And then they note that they believe, or based on the homeowner information, that it was enclosed in the 1980s. And those photos do seem to support that possibility, just in the materials that are used and then the way it's been kind of abutted against the brick wall there.
Okay, good. He did supply, I had asked him to show a picture of the inside, and that brick wall and window, I think, is a really good indication that was enclosed, so.
Yes.
Has he submitted what the new porch is gonna look like?
There's a kind of conceptual drawings that it has submitted.
Oh, there it is. Okay, I'm okay with it. Not that good for drawing, but.
Yes. Yeah, so they'll probably need to come back for the proposed construction, but if there's any feedback on the conceptual drawing, provide that, and then I know they were looking for a vote for the demolition.
Well, I don't know if the posts, it looks a little spindly. I mean, I can't tell.
Right.
How wide is that? Maybe it's gotta be 30 feet, 22 feet. There it is.
But if we approve the demolition, he'll still have to come back with the final
Drawing of what,
drawing. So this is conceptually what's he gonna replace it with.
So I think it depends on whether the commission would consider the existing porch historic or not. If it's historic, then our code says that we need a definite plan for reuse and confirmed drawings.
Right.
But it seems like it might not be historic, but depending on how the commission feels about that, it might be okay for demolition, or it might not be.
It's certainly old, but it's not. I think you're right. I think that window indicates that was an open
Right.
space.
I think it was an open space. I think the upper deck, though, was always there because those are walkout windows upstairs, right? Or doors or something upstairs.
I think there's a door on the second story.
So
So I think the existing door opening was there. Is there some?
yeah,
Big.
I think it was the way he's proposing it, that there was a upper deck to walk out on, but it wasn't enclosed underneath.
Cause that looks like infill, right?
Yeah.
Is that what we're looking at, that octagon window?
Yeah, the octagon window that was the first clue that doesn't seem right.
Right.
And then confirming that with the inside pictures of the brick and exterior windows in the interior space is pretty clear. But because of the second floor has those doors going out, I think that there was something up there.
Yeah.
And that's what he's proposing. He just hasn't drawn it very well. So I guess the question comes down to, based on the drawing that he's given us conceptually, is that good enough for
Permit?
this is what he's gonna, well, not for the permit, but for the demolition? Because he's told us what he's gonna replace it with.
I see what you're saying.
How detailed do we have to have the The replacement drawing.
Before we allow the demolition.
Because I think we need to allow demolition ultimately because things falling down. There's no way you can fix it.
That's right. This is pretty.
And so,
Is it true that we have to be in agreement about conceptual or whatever replacement before we approve demolition? Are they?
Yeah, for historic demolition, and I think it's the demolition code, for preservation demolition code, that there should be a definite plan.
The upper, that's what we're saying.
right. So is this enough for us to say this is a definite plan? Or
Yeah,
is it too sketchy?
it's pretty sketchy, pretty sketchy. So
I think conceptually I'm there.
but conceptually, sure, but I do
I'm good
wonder
there.
though, I think the question I'm kind of stuck on is, are we taking specific cues from the dimensions that are existing? Because we
Yeah,
are saying elements of that porch are historic. So should that all be documented more accurately on a scaled drawing, an actual elevation?
Then when we start looking at this, the new one, we can compare it with what's.
I agree with you. And those proportions of that railing and stuff should be
Yeah.
in the new, should be identical to the new drawing.
Well, yeah.
We're probably not there with the sketch, and if it gets demoed, then it's like, I don't know.
It's not.
But if they can provide that kind of documentation with the measurements and stuff to the staff, I don't know if they need to come back. They can just.
Right, I think we can do this as a staff.
Conditional, we can do a conditional approval.
If they
based on
make
that.
if they make a real drawing for us to look at.
So you can see that, I don't know what you guys call it, but there are these elements at the corners that actually at each of them. You zoom into the railing of the upper tower, and I don't think the drawing has them. You see that? It's not just
Right,
is it circular, some kind of,
yeah.
yeah, those some elements.
It's a screw that's been sliced at the side.
Yeah, anyway,
As long as he replaces it in kind, in the sense of the
look
footprint, the footprint, yeah. I wouldn't have a problem approving the demolition, but that's conditional. And
Yeah,
it's obviously there, I mean, it's pretty poor.
yeah.
You know, another month isn't gonna, I don't think.
well, it could only be 2 weeks if he actually comes back with a real drawing.
Yeah, true. So everybody's okay with it?
Yep.
Well, let's call it A and B, how about that? Because if we're doing
Wait, yeah, but,
demolition is A,
yeah, but are we gonna do
Continue.
demolition in, before we get the drawing, is there put it?
well, we're gonna do a conditional based on drawings, kind of this, I think is kind of what we're saying.
And then you don't have to see them for the documentation.
Correct. But we have to have the drawings of what they're gonna put back, and then we're gonna continue part B, which is the addition. And they're back on the agenda next month.
Yeah, but we,
So I think the drawings that you're asking for the part A, that would be like, the drawings of the existing structure.
It's documenting the existing, so that when we do look at part B, we can be sure that, okay, we do know what was.
And I would think,
Oh,
if they're
okay.
drawing it up, would probably draw what they're proposing as well, but maybe not. They may just hurry, they may fast track what's existing.
Yeah.
But you could just say drawings could be inclusive of what you're proposing, but specifically we need what's existing.
okay, but we don't need on the existing, the infill part. We've already decided that wasn't historical. So he doesn't have to draw all his windows
Yeah,
in
the
detail.
upper,
No,
upper.
I think just where it meets the structure, the height of the structure, you know, what's going on, where it, you know, there's probably gonna be ghosting, but
Right,
the drawing of what exists, it could just be not very well detailed underneath, but we need to know the
Right.
exact height.
All the
width,
bowling
all
or
the things
doors.
that kindly were brought up. The
So
depth.
everything from the, more or less everything from up here?
yeah,
And to the side,
Open frame.
basically a square. Doesn't have to
yeah,
be-
and actually, I think the fascia board right under there, 'cause look where the column comes up. Yeah, I think that's original, because look where the column is there, and then I think it cantilevered out just a little
And
bit.
then this, from here, it's infill
Yeah,
from that.
I think
right there.
that, I think I'm reading it right, because you can even see how the paint is different off differently, because they probably had some really good
Right.
paint up at the top there.
Right.
How do we articulate that? Is there a better way that you need to maybe give?
I I'm a little leery about having him tear this off before we actually
Get the drawing.
get the drawing. Because then it'll be gone and then. And
No,
then.
no, so we're not approving, it's conditional.
It's conditional.
So they will only demolish it once they give the drawing to the.
Okay.
We're only
We
doing
don't-
conditional approval.
Right.
Okay.
So the drawing has to be in before he gets the.
Okay, then I'm good with it.
In your opinion, and that's right, Kate, in the next 2 weeks, it could be a staff thing, you know, hey, you got a drawing in and, or maybe even less.
Yeah, okay.
And and I think we're interested in specific dimensions of the detail too, not just an overall, but we want to understand what those member sizes are, spacing, heights,
Mhm.
et cetera.
And to your point, you made a really good point that top, or rather the lower section is stepped in and the porch is stepped out. That would be nice to know that margin to carry that through to the next design.
Right.
Even though, you know, it's just a band board and all that, but it'd be nice.
It's still a nice proportion. I think when you see it drawn up, you're gonna see it's a nice proportion on it.
Yeah, we're losing all the detail in that. But he's close. I mean, he's got it over here next to the window, which is how it is existing. I mean, it's there, but it's, you know,
We don't see hand-drawn perspectives too often.
it's not bad.
Yeah.
It's really not bad, but we're used to Clyde's drawings. Good drawings.
Yeah, I don't think I ever actually. We'll do it.
Anyway, who wants to make that into a motion?
I can give a shot for HR 2307-03-0659 Linwood Avenue. We're gonna break that into part A. So for part A, regarding the demolition, we're moving to do staff approval pending a detailed elevation drawing of all historic elements, specifically everything up on the upper story down to the structural elements supporting that story, excluding the infill portions of wall on the first floor.
Second.
I mean, we could leave it even to the discussion of the applicant. I mean, if his architect who wants to draw the whole thing, then draw. Sure. You know, it might be easier, I don't know.
Right.
Or not, but perhaps. It's interesting. I find that the older windows, they found old windows to put in this. It gives it a different kind of look, like it almost looked like it belonged.
Except for the octagon window on the other side.
No, that one, yeah. That big bush over there, nobody saw. I'm sorry, further discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, sure. And same application, part B, move to continue the new design. Anything to say?
Now, just that, but that we wanna, for the new design, the historic portion, we want them to replicate the existing proportions and all, that's the reason for them to draw for in part.
As proposed, basically, like,
proposed, yeah.
so we don't come back with a whole new idea.
Mhm.
You kind of got us there with this, so.
Yeah.
Are you seconding?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
All right.
Okay. Where are we here?
Number 9.
Okay, so number 9 is another one where we may able to be approved if the commission is comfortable and doesn't have any additional questions. So this is one of the exterior alterations, including replacing the 2 garage doors with that single wide garage door, and then altering the head above the garage door, just painting Fairmount main home and garage, and then some landscaping, including removal of trees from the rear south yard, and then some installation of rocks or gravel stones and plantings at the front or north elevation, with some plantings added to the rear yard, and removal of an existing fence and installation of new fencing at the north end of the garage. Followed with some staff report notes, the applicant, in response to business meeting feedback. Here's the version here. They have submitted some notated, from the county auditors, just for the alley sides in regard to the garage doors.
Because he wanted to put in a single garage door, is that correct?
Yes, and that has been installed already.
Okay. And it looked like it was right up against the alley and.
That's right there.
And, well, yeah, what was the dimension of the alley though? Just so we,
Yeah, that's what we asked for, the turning radius.
yeah, just because we've asked everybody else for it.
Two birds, right?
I mean, I don't even think there was an apron there.
No, but who knows, they all be like super wide.
So-
I think it is.
Yeah, so the applicant, the other question, of course, was the fence height. So the applicant has confirmed that the fence height is 6 feet and that the garage doors that were removed slid sideways, so they were that barn door style. And the county auditor map indicates that the width of the alley is 15 feet and the location of the dumpster from the apartments is behind the garage.
Okay, so 15 feet, so that's 7 feet, isn't it? Yeah, we're fine.
It's because the tight turning radius.
Because the tight turning radius and how close it is there, yeah. And I assume that it's always asking for the dimensions, so I didn't want to assume. Okay, I think we're good.
We gonna make a motion on this one.
Sure. Go with it. Okay. Move to approve HR 23 dash 07 dash 031 119 Northwood Avenue as submitted.
Second.
Any further discussion? You okay with what's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And I think it's in keeping, if somebody would have come to us with a proposal because of that width, I think that's really important to understand that we would absolutely consider that. All right, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Okay, so I think the next one might be number 13. So that is 604 South Champion Avenue, and this is another one that could be approved if the commission does not have any questions or concerns.
Your last bullet point is interesting. How did we get any further on the zoning?
Yes, so I should have updated that because the applicant did receive the zoning feedback and they have adjusted the location of the garage slightly to meet the zoning code feedback. So they should be within what zoning is recommended.
Good. Did you receive the new drawings that reflect that or not yet?
Sort of, I may have put them at the top for these materials. Let's scroll back up there. They kind of have a little notation. So I think this is the most recent drawing, either this or the second page. Well, that's just been.
And this is the typical garage that we've approved. It has the wood trim on the sides and everything.
Framed in corners, right?
Yeah, looks like those shingles.
Yeah, so the only recommendations from staff is that like a door cut sheet be submitted for final review and approval, so we can make sure it's not a full with grain or the style in general that they're showing looks okay. And then a foundation course is visible right now, at least in the drawings. It looks like the site is coming all the way down to the ground.
Yeah.
So it seems like that might create some water issues and also be a little bit different in appearance than other garages that are typically approved. And then the vehicle door might be centered on the east elevation. It just wasn't clear, so that's just another stipulation.
Are you okay with us going for those details and then they submit to staff, or would you rather just continue, make them in?
No, I am comfortable with that being submitted to staff, and then if it's something the applicant is not amenable to, we can let them know that, you know, they can come back if they'd like to.
Good. I'm here for it. What do you guys think?
Great.
Okay. For HR 2307-035, 604 South Champion Avenue, making a motion to approve as is with including staff stipulation. And those can go directly to the staff and the plan doesn't come back to us. Yeah, it does.
Second.
Any further discussion? I do have a question on one of the pages. There's an arrow that says 30-year asphalt. I don't know, unless they're dimensional, they're usually not 30 years or 25. I don't think they do that in 3-tab, do they?
I don't know, is the shingle from our approved list here?
They do say that they're using the Owens Corning, the state grade 3-tab, which is from our approved shingles list. I'm not sure about the 30-year.
Yeah, it just seemed like it was, oh yeah, it says right on the bottom. Okay. Approved 3-tab shingle with red ridge. I would say if they had, when they're altering the drawings, to put exactly what they're gonna put on the drawing for the shingles, some of these details. And if there's hardware, obviously for staff approval, hardware, lighting, doors. All in favor?
Aye.
And I think that might be all of the applications.
Any old business?
No old business,
Any new business?
no new business.
New business, welcome. Right. Okay, motion to adjourn.
So.
Second.
Aye. Okay, call for the vote.
Sure.
That was all over the place. But we got it done, right? 3, 9, 4, 7.
Use it all.
I'm really glad she kept track.